welcome back, everybody. We've got a great show for you today. Today's topic's on how do you pick a financial advisor and do you need one? Getting back to this whole money talk stuff, right?
Right.
So
I hope I still have a job when we get done.
yeah, that's right. Well, I think what we're going to start off with is a couple of questions, and I've got a couple of stories I want to bring in.
Okay.
What is and what isn't financial advice? There's a lot of noise out there, Mike. Can you kind of separate what is and what isn't financial advice?
Sure. Yeah, I think the first thing I get when I tell people what I do for a living, they ask you what your stock pick is. Mm-hmm. And in financial advice, think about it, it's advice. Financial advice is a bigger thing than picking an investment. But unfortunately, it's a simpler way to go. And that's the way the bulk of the industry, I'd say 85% of it, is based around selecting investment product, selling investment product, and not doing the hard work in the beginning. I mean, they turn the pyramid upside down. The pyramid should be plan, process, product. Instead, it's product, process to
plan.
Sell, probably no plan. I mean, I've been doing this 20 years. I've never had someone walk in the door and say, here's my written plan, here's my investment policy statement, this is my asset allocation, these are my investment costs, this is what we're doing. What do you think of it? Mm-hmm. They don't. Mm-hmm. People come in, they've got a stack of papers, they've got accounts here, they got accounts there, they got accounts here, and maybe they got 3 or 4 advisors doing this, and that's their diversification on top of it. So they're not well diversified on top of it as well.
Right, right. So really, you've seen over your whole career, and I've got my own story and my friend's story is to kind of back this up. Is that there's just a lack of planning in the financial world. People think they can do it themselves, yet they might have a plan that the plan's inefficient and they don't know it. Some people go with advisors, and the advisors are just pushing products rather than, like you're saying, like pushing a process and a plan together, right? So, do all people need advisors, Mike? I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
That's a good question. I think they do, and maybe I'm biased because I am an advisor, but I mean, obviously, we have great investment products out there nowadays. I mean, people can get low-cost index funds, low-cost ETFs, build fabulous portfolios, and a few do, and they probably don't use an advisor. But I mean, there's data out there that shows, and even Vanguard, who's a great provider of index funds and ETFs, has a paper on this. The value added from getting financial advice, and it's up to almost 3% total.
3%,
so I mean, if you could even get half of that added to your long-term annualized return, it's huge and well worth it. But for some reason, I see people. There's 2 extremes: they're do-it-yourselfers, or they turn it over to somebody, and they trust them. But unfortunately, they're trusting the wrong person, because a lot of people are basically, for lack of a better term, they're wolves in sheep's clothing.
Yep. And I think, Mike, what you kind of described was like my story too. Is I was a very individual investor. I put a lot of my money into index funds.
Right.
And I never used modern portfolio theory, factor investing to optimize my portfolio. I just kind of said, "Oh, I'm a professor of economics, and I've read the Jack Bogles and the Random Walk Down Wall Street. I know these. I know what to do."
How long have you been indexing? I know you're an asset class fund.
21 years I've
really?
been.
So you were in it, okay.
20
so I know
years.
we met quite a while ago, so you're good. Because I know I met a lot of professors, and when I tried to talk to a number at Bradley years ago, and I'm not knocking Bradley, I'm just saying because they're the local professors, right? But I think a lot of them take that active approach because, we're going to be smarter than the market, but the statistics are out there that show that very few do, even the big institutions.
Yep.
Which goes back to the whole advisor thing, to steer you in the right way.
Yeah. Another thing I think out there that people see, and I think most of the time they're just worried about, can I trust this person, right? Can I trust that person? And there's really, we live in a fallen world, so people make mistakes all the time, and people are, selfish by nature. Adam Smith talks about that. There's this concept out there I don't think a lot of our listeners know about, and that's the whole issue of being a fiduciary to your clients. What does that mean? Like, what does that mean to be 100% fiduciary rather than just sort of this, hodgepodge? 2 hats. Could you kind of talk about that a little bit?
The bulk of the industry wears 2 hats. So they can be a fiduciary, but they can also be a salesperson. And they can change hats in the conversation. and you never know when they are or aren't. And basically, for the most part, they aren't. But everybody says, "Well, they've got my best interest at heart. He's a really nice guy." And what I'm not saying, they're not malicious people. There are a lot of great people out there in the industry, but unfortunately, the structure is just set up such that they're selling advice or product
service.
more or less,
Yeah,
and they're
sure.
not being a fiduciary. If you work with an independent advisor that's strictly registered as an independent advisor, and they're only fee only, there's no question. The trust is there. It's not just it's a duty of standard of care and not just trust.
How many, like, what?
Trust is an empty word.
Back it up, right? How many financial advisors out there are these fiduciaries, Mike? Like, are they hard to find?
Well, we're definitely not in the majority. I think I read something recently. There's 650,000 advisors, okay? Advisors, salespeople, financial advisors in America. Of that, 85% are sales-based. Do the math.
Yeah, so 15
Not
at
ver-
most.
Yeah, quite a bit.
Yeah,
Or duly
sure.
licensed, I should say.
Sure. Is there anything you have to do, to get the designation of a fiduciary? Is there
Well,
sort
it's
of
different
a,
licensing. You're only required to have a Series 65. I mean, like I used to have my Series 7. I was a stockbroker, had the license. I could sell mutual funds. I could sell stocks, options, the whole things for a Series 7. Series 6 is mutual funds. And there's a whole gamut of other licenses out there. But basically, to be fee only, all you need is a Series 65.
yeah, okay.
And then, I'm certified as a financial planner. So, I mean, that's a designation as well. But
Yeah, so you've talked about selecting an advisor. You might even have like a little checklist. Is there something that something like a red flag that you should say, hey, if you were talking to someone who's a financial, you should maybe walk away, or maybe there's a flag that's more receptive, like, hey, let me hear this. Let's like really be receptive to this individual because they're saying things that I should be aware of.
yeah. I don't know if there's a red flag. I mean, we could put a resource out there. We can give people a checklist of questions they can ask. And I think what would be best is I'll walk through that. And I think what we're going to put out there too is there's a fiduciary oath that you could have people sign. And that would be a tough one because I don't know if you're going to get many people to sign that one. But I think it's interesting. I'll read off these questions from this checklist here. So, let's touch on this one. This is like the Bernie Madoff story. So the first thing you want to do is you never want to have your money held in custodianship with the person that's managing your money. And that's the Bernie Madoff story. I mean, you think about Bernie Madoff, you didn't put your money at Charles Schwab or at Fidelity or TD Ameritrade. It sat at Bernie Madoff, Inc. And Bernie Madoff, Inc. walked off with everybody's money. So the first thing you want to do is have a border, a wall between your advisor and your money. We use Schwab Institutional. We have authority to trade, but we can never get access to our clients' money.
I see. So
number one.
It's in their name, not in Mike Mahoney Cypress.
Question number two, real simple here. Are you a broker? Right answer, no. Are you a duly registered advisor? Right answer again, no, because basically you're a broker. I mean, if you have two licenses to wear two hats. Do you sell any proprietary investments of any kind? Again, right answer, no. Because there's I think the conflict there. The other thing I see, beyond the broker thing, is are you affiliated with an insurance agency, and do you have an insurance license? Because I can't tell you. I used to have my insurance license because I was in that business prior to this, but I had my broker's license as well.
On top of it,
But what you have is you have an insurance license and you're a quote advisor. There's a huge conflict there because, especially what I'm seeing today with annuity sales, and some annuities are appropriate for the right person, but a lot of these annuities are not that I'm seeing being sold. And if you go to a Form ADV, which all of us, if we're a duly licensed or we're even for a fiduciary, we have a Form ADV for the firm we work with, it would have all those disclosures and conflicts there. I've never met a person yet that's ever looked at that, and that's probably not we're going to go there today. But I think that's a topic in itself that we should do a video, and let's go to the web. We'll search through the advisors and just walk through a couple of ADVs and show people
what
I'm worried about.
Yeah, sure.
I'm not.
I've never looked at
sued
that
for
either.
slander, but I mean, we take a look at it. Yeah.
Sure, it'd be interesting. Like here's three examples.
Right.
Well, folks, I think there's a lot of resources that we want to share with you over the course of time, and this is just one of the topics we want to talk to you today about how do you select a financial advisor. And we've got a website up there, Mike, don't we? That we're going to put some
Yeah,
resources
we'll
on.
put the resources we talked about today. And I think I'd even like to touch before we go away. I mean, when you pick an advisor, we're talking about the fiduciary duty, trust, and this and that. But I think, and like I alluded to, you can build a really good portfolio on your own if you want to with index funds or ETFs. But are you going to have the time to do it? Are you going to stay on top of it? Or do you have the mental fortitude to rebalance when things are tough? Possibly not. Tax loss harvesting, that's another thing. We'll put that up there as far as the breakdown on how we add value. But the more important thing is, I think, when you pick an advisor, is do they have a process? And I mean, when you look at these ADVs, or you look at someone's website, they all talk about these fundamental, very generalized language, but most aren't dedicated to having a fundamental investment philosophy. And if they can't produce that and provide it to you in writing, and it doesn't make sense to you, again, why would you
Or
use that
on top of their
Because
head,
normally
right,
it's soup du
right.
jour. You go to the website and everybody throws everything out. They put the kitchen sink. They do the same thing in their ADV form, and it's like really simple. There's great portfolios to be had using index funds, index ETFs, asset class funds, and if they're not doing that, the odds are that you're probably not going to have as good of an experience as you can. Your outcomes can be better if you have that type of process. And then that's something we'll have that's another topic. We'll talk about that in a future video.
Yeah, I mean, it's this whole idea of having a plan. I mean, even it's a proverb actually. Without a plan, people perish, and without a plan, your money perishes, and you just don't know where it goes. And so I really appreciate those words of wisdom for our listeners today. And
Failing to plan is planning to fail.
that's true, isn't it?
I heard that one the other day,
on
too.
many
So
many
I
things.
had to throw that one in there.
Yeah. So, well, anyways, great stuff today,
You bet.
Mike. Make sure if you like our content, please subscribe
right.
and give us a thumbs up. Check out our website.
Send us questions.
Send us questions.
Future topics.
Yeah, if you want to talk to us individually, we're glad to reach out and talk to you. So, anyways, this is the Enlightened Investor Team
You bet.
out.
Bye.
Thanks.